here. Let me see. I
Uh,
can move
all
on.
right. So, hello everyone, and hello to this new workshop of Build on Hackathon. So, in this workshop, we have folks from AWS who are going to teach us that how we all can create powerful decentralized applications on Web3 using QuickNode and, of course, AWS. So, I will open the stage to Everton and Varsha to introduce themselves and greet the hackers. So, Everton is a senior Web3 strategist at AWS, and Varsha is a Web3 strategist at AWS. They are very much hands on with Web3, and they'll teach us that how you can use a good combination of Web3 tooling like QuickNode and very powerful toolings like AWS. So, over to you, Everton.
Hey, hi
And
everybody.
yeah.
I'm Everton. As Sahil mentioned, we are hands-on with Web3. I have a quite of a history with the space. I worked for the Ethereum Foundation for almost 5 years as a software engineer. Now moved to AWS as we're building a lot of cool stuff here. And I'm joined by Varsha Normand. Want you go ahead?
Yeah. So I'm also a Web3 specialist, I say, on the AWS Web3 go-to-market team, and been working a lot with startups, and a lot of cool things are being built on AWS. So I'm happy to join you in the stream.
All right. So
Uh,
giving a good segue to the startups topic, right? So we are AWS is a very good place for you to build, launch, and grow your startups. Uh, Hundreds of thousands of startups are on AWS, and we do have well almost 2 decades of experience doing that, accelerating businesses, right? And now when we merge startups and Web3, we have something that's pretty exciting, right? So we are using all this experience condensed and pouring that over in the form of several programs, expertise, contact with venture capitals, uh, and helping folks grow and accelerate them.
And yeah, just a fun fact, we're home to over 280,000 startups globally.
That's quite a few.
Mhm.
All right, Varsha, I want to take over.
Yeah, sure. So just as we're all about helping startups grow on AWS, we're well all in Web3 workloads. We're pioneering leadership in this area, as AWS has been empowering companies in the blockchain Web3 space and helps reshape the digital landscape. And here at AWS, we offer vertical expertise in a breadth of subverticals, from exchanges, L1, L2s, dApps, DeFi, etc. And then we also provide unmatched experience, as we have a longstanding commitment for blockchain innovations. And AWS does offer deep expertise and offers a very robust ecosystems and tools, which you'll see shortly in the slides to come. And we're also a trusted industry partner, as AWS is the go-to cloud platform for blockchain technology and blockchain workloads. And we serve a plethora, a huge range of customers, starting all the way from startups to enterprise giants as well. So this is just a cool animation that we threw here together for this presentation. But this kind of walks you through each step of the journey throughout your startup journey, all the way from the launch state, as you can see here, all the way up to the scale state or scale stage. And one of the programs that I wanted to shine light on is our Activate program, the AWS Activate, that you can see at the very first pin that rocket. Activate is our flagship startups program here at AWS, and we offer a wide variety of programs through Activate to dedicate support for startups to cater to their unique needs, no matter what stage you're in. So this can be all the way from the very start of your startup journey, as you're kind of coming up with your next big idea or like coding a hackathon. All the way up to when you want to get yourself in front of customers and understand feature gaps and kind of cater and build your product. So, and by using AWS and using our brand, you can amplify, we can help amplify meaningful customer stories, success stories as well. And education is a very core part of the startup's journey. We offer a whole bunch of workshops, demos, architecture reviews to kind of help you construct your cloud infrastructure for your startups. And a lot of the AWS experts that you will be coming into contact with were themselves, very much involved with startups, often founders, CEOs, and a lot of we all have a very big passion when it comes to startups. And since we know what it's like to be in your shoes, we can use our expertise and help scale your startup from start to end. So with that, we'll dive into kind of each segment of the startup journey, starting from the early stage programs. And I can give it back to you, Everton.
All right, thank you. So first of all, the AWS Activate, that is what Barsha gave a good overview about. We have something even more specific, more catered to Web3 founders. So we partner with communities in the ecosystem led by heavyweight names in the industry, and we have this specific program called AWS Web3 Provider Program, right? So it allows builders to have specific credit allocations. They're given through these partnerships that we have with those industry names. Might have a slide in a few minutes showcasing some of them. Fellowship programs. So that is very interesting, kind of a community that we create around specific types of builders, right? So we have builders that are CEOs, we have builders that are CTOs, and we nurture these communities to help them succeed as a group, right? Not to mention the startup events, the ones that we host on our startup lofts worldwide, but also we have presence on industry events as well. So Consensus, we co-hosted a hackathon there, for example. Whenever folks are ready for growth, we can also help. I'll go over very briefly here, but we do have a very interesting network of VCs and investors. We have ways to help builders scale through different acquisition channels. So with the AWS partner network, and we have some programs, some open source projects that folks here on our end we develop and we put for good use. For example, the AWS blockchain node runners. It is a GitHub project that folks can go there, select their protocol of choice, blockchain protocol of choice, and deploy nodes for that protocol, right? And the Global Startup Program. That's another one of many programs that we have to support the startups as they grow. And more, right? I'll go over quickly. We don't have a lot of time, and I really want to get to the technical part. All right, Varsha, want to take back one?
Sure. So just to kind of reiterate how AWS Activate can help you as a Web3 startup, you can benefit from by using the variety of programs we have offered via AWS Activate. You are essentially being part of the community, which allows you to, pitch competitions and hackathons, be part of focused roundtables, and allows you access to a lot of our global um, Web3 conferences. And then we also offer a plethora of trainings and resources that includes access to in-house AWS and Web3 experts, such as essays, such as me and Everton, and also you can utilize infrastructure and cost and optimization trainings. We also offer, workshops, architecture reviews, and a whole bunch more. And you're also essentially being part of the ecosystem and you'll be able to utilize our BD and GTM programs, be a part of our VC and investor networks, take advantage of our marketing opportunities, and raise awareness for your startups and kind of what you're doing and building with your startup on AWS. We can raise awareness, uh, write joint content, blogs, a whole bunch of other activities as well. So it's really you're being part of a community and being able to leverage AWS and grow your ecosystem as well.
All right, let's talk about numbers. So as part of this Activate program, one of the perks that people love the most are the credits, right? So here's some information about it. So bootstrapped builders, they can have up to $1,000 in AWS credits. Once they keep on their journey as they grow, they can get awarded up to $100,000 in AWS credits. We would love to, rule out any questions, anything that folks have. So feel free to drop on the chat. We can take that afterwards. And as I mentioned, the Web3 specific Activate provider, it is as slightly more slightly specialized compared to that one, and up to $5,000 in credits for Bootstrapped. And we have some other partners, right? So Fireblocks, Avalanche, and many others, right? Now let's talk about the technical pieces and the building blocks that allow Web3 to thrive on AWS. So if I were to give kind of a very honest description of what AWS is, I would say that it is the the dreamland of the tech tinkerer, right? Because it has services for everything, for every need, right? So here there is a very small selection of those. We have over 200 services today, and we have the kind of the most comprehensive selection of compute instances with over 750 types and sizes, uh, with a variety of processor architecture and some very specialized hardware that AWS employed in this almost 20 years of experience, right? And for the Web3 use cases, I would say that we have some very interesting payment paths, right, for our community, right? So let's start from the security, right, because that should always come first. So we have AWS Cloud HSM providing top-notch security service. It is basically a HSM connected to the cloud that that meets very high standard of security. We have AWS KMS, Key Management Service, allowing you to create cryptographic keys and even sign Ethereum or EVM transactions with it. Right, so it has support for the curves compatible with EVM, for example. And still in security, to the right, we have AWS Nitro Enclaves. This is not a service. This is a feature of our EC2, most traditional EC2, that allows that is basically a very secure container where you can run applications. They're resistant to memory reads from the outside. So that's really, really important because typically we have the security at rest, right? You can cryptograph information and save it. You have encryption in transit. So the TLS, all the HTTPS protocols, right, that we know. Um, and you also need to have enhanced security in use. So if your application is, let's say, reads a private key material and wants to sign a transaction, uh, it would be very good if that memory cannot be read by any other process, right? And this is something that AWS is really proud of because it's embedded into the Nitro board, which is specialized hardware and hypervisor that we built. Moving along, we have services in so many areas. So from the bottom up, so we have core compute. We have several ways to run applications, right? So EC2 is the traditional um, service where you select the hardware, you choose the placement of that instance. It is in one availability zone or which region we have global presence, and then you select the operating system, and then from there you put your credentials and you're logged in. Then we have AWS Lambda, which is innovation from AWS that allows you to run applications based on functions. So you create a function, uh, and that concept is really, really popular today. And even though today we have QuickNode functions, which is actually pretty awesome too, right? So it allows you to not worry about which underlying hardware you're using or what underlying operating system you're using. You just write one function once. You can deploy it anywhere within the service. You can select, regions and just move them across regions. And it is a highly scalable, made for scale. And most importantly, also to help folks um, alleviate some of the operational challenges with managing machines and do the patching and things like that. Right. So we have storage systems. Today we're gonna use AWS Lambda in our demo. We're gonna use Amazon S3 in our demo. Um, and moving up the stack here, we have Amazon API Gateway also present in our demo. And this one is fully managed API service. So you can very easily, even from the console, with you click around and then you create a secure and scalable API gateway for your application, where you can select the targets for each path in HTTP method, and you can really have a lot of fun there because you can connect it to a database. You can connect the Amazon API gateway to AWS Lambda and so on, right? Um, AWS AppSync, CloudFront, Private Link, there's so many services and options, but I'll move up the stack a little bit. There is a blockchain dedicated service on AWS too called Amazon Managed Blockchain. For data, we have Kinesis, Lake Formation, EMR. Those help with processing data lakes, right? Make them rather easy to use. And not to mention the AI/ML stack, right? So the traditional SageMaker helps you to create models, do machine learning models, and perfect them over time. Amazon Bedrock offers which is the um, one of Amazon Bedrock and Amazon Q Developer are the two newest services here on the slide. And Bedrock allows you to use a variety of foundational models, so Anthropic and Claude and right, so Claude, um, also Cohere, Jurassic, and Titan models. So actually pretty interesting. And the Q developer, which allows you to have a basically a super smart assistant writing code with you and solving problems. That was a pretty exhaustive, uh, but that's it.
That being said, I just wanted to mention some of the five most leveraged AWS services by Web3 companies, and which are EC2, KMS, Cloud HSM, API Gateway, S3, and Elastic Block Store. So just wanted to shout that out.
Very good.
And we also offer blueprints, several blueprints. Basically, these are ready to go, ready to deploy solutions using AWS services. They're nice CDK templates where you can, by just a couple of commands, can deploy a whole bunch of solutions. As you can see, these are some solutions that we have as blueprints from blockchain node runners, wallet staking solutions, indexing blueprints, etc. And then at this point, we can move on to talk about some Web3 use cases before we dive into the demo. Before going into the actual use cases, I just wanted to mention about hosting blockchain nodes on AWS. So there are a number of ways in which we support in hosting blockchain nodes. But some things that I wanted to talk about here are some things that you may want to consider. So by using AWS to host blockchain nodes, you can really benefit from the scalability by using auto-scaling groups and application load balancers to kind of help manage demand fluctuations by automatically scaling numbers of nodes based off of traffic, as Everton mentioned in like the couple of slides above, by our security offerings. We help you implement security best practices by utilizing security groups, Nitro enclaves, etc. And we ensure that only necessary ports are open for peer-to-peer communication. And depending on your hardware requirements, we offer more than 750 instance types and sizes, and you can kind of pick and choose what best fits your case, and we can definitely help you and support you throughout that journey. Both in terms of your hardware requirements and to kind of cost optimize as well. Another thing I just wanted to point out is you can also utilize our AWS Graviton processors and optimize instance types with tools such as AWS Compute Optimizer as well. So basically, by leveraging our robust infrastructure offerings and various deployment options, your organizations can efficiently host blockchain nodes tailored for whatever your specific needs are.
All right, thank you. So there are several things you can do, right, with mixing and matching those services. So here's a non-exhaustive list of use cases with a bunch of those building blocks together. So one thing you could do is to leverage AWS Signer, AWS Lambda, and a mix of other services to securely create and share keys for Ethereum validators, right? We do have a solution and open source code uh, to make this a reality, right? So to deploy that on your AWS account if needed. Um, and well, here's basically an extension of that with the first one. Uh, there is one use case that our Varsha and I published last year that helps you with generating a mass of data and using that for uh, event visualization So we'll do that today, some of that today using QuickNode streams in our example, right? And all right, so I think this is demo time, right? So let me switch gears here quickly. And you folks already might know about the QuickNode streams. It is actually one of my favorite features here from QuickNode. It solves a very big problem, right? So for you to get blockchain data, uh, might seem like an easy task, but it is a very big undertaking, right? So you have to stand up an Ethereum node. Let's pick Ethereum, right? You have to stand up an Ethereum node. Depending on the data, a full node can have it, such as the let's talk only mainly about the execution layer node, right? If you're a, a full node, it has access to um, block bodies, uh, to the receipts only if your node is marked to save all the receipts. Some nodes they prune the receipts by default. The transactions as well, they should have them. But there is some information uh, that they prune over time. So then for that, you need an archive node, right? And for you to stand up an archive node today for Ethereum mainnet, it might take you, well, several days of syncing, if not a week, right? Or depending, a couple weeks. So to begin with, this is very time consuming, and QuickNode streams really simplifies this entire process and helps you with the task of uh, treating indexing as a single stream, right? So this is also very important, the way that they approached it. Um, there are systems that they index the blockchain from, let's say, from Genesis block and another subscription at the top of the chain, at the tip of the chain. Uh, but QuickNode streams, they really simplify this whole process, and they provide transformers along the way to help you uh, have data being delivered uh, at the exact size that you need, with the exact information you need, without extra expenditure, right? So so for this example today, we're going to use an Ethereum mainnet stream that's delivering block information, and I chose to have only um, recent block information. For my use case, I'm not using since the Genesis block, although but I could. It's just a matter of configuration. Yeah, but let me just go over here um, how we would do it. Uh, First of all, let me check. Is it possible to see correctly here? Font size. All right, better. So chain selection, basically Ethereum, mainnet, then you can select what is the scope of your data. And I chose for this example, I chose the batch size number 1. So I'll receive one event, one block event at a time. And because my use case includes receiving only latest data, just one would be enough, right? And I also used a a modified payload, right? So this is important because I might not need the entire block body to my application. So in this case, I'm going to only use um, gas limit for the block, total gas used, and then I calculate here on the functions a percentage of the block fullness, right? So if the total gas limit is 30 million and I only have 15 million gas being used in a block, I'll have the 50% being returned at the percentage used. And let's move forward. So let's pick here Amazon S3 as the destination. I used, I already have a bucket I created on my AWS account. I can show you in a second. And I kept here just using the JSON file uh, because it is easier to check, to spot check. But you could use also the Parquet file format that is a bit more optimized for reads um, down the road. I'm not testing this destination right now because I'll have to configure here. I don't want to expose any of my keys. But I have already deployed this stream. So I have this one here and it
So
is fully operational. Hello.
yeah, hey Everton.
Hello.
So sorry to interrupt you, but for a lot of our viewers, they might be hackers who are just starting out, right?
Yeah.
So S3 bucket can be a very new topic for them. So would you like to go over that? That why are we using S3 bucket as our data storage solution over here, and what are the benefits, and how how people can implement that in their projects?
Oh, absolutely. All right. So I'll switch tabs here. So S3 is a object storage service provided by AWS, and it allows you to basically store files that can be read by the users, external users, or read by your application, right? And the service has actually so many features today, but some that I can highlight here are first is the resilience factor, right? So it is super hard for you to lose one file, right? So all the uh, uh, from all the experience that AWS garnered over the years, we understood and concluded that, well, hardware fail all the time. So managing data centers and storage arrays, that is kind of a complex task. And AWS S3 has several nines of resiliency, and the files are replicated over many times, each file that you save there. So these guarantees, this provides a very high level of elevated level of guarantees that your files are being stored, and then you can really depend on it, right? You can build applications around the service safely. It is a very mature service, and fast forward so many years, right? Now we have some pretty interesting features. One of them I wanted to highlight is the ability to, first of all, we provided our access credentials to QuickNode streams. And whenever there's a new event, a new block in this case, um, QuickNode streams send and uploads one of those files to uh, this S3 bucket. Bucket, it is, we can call it kind of a folder or directory, right? It would be kind of a good parallel. And those files are being uploaded here, and I have information about the block. Block number is 21 million and something. And I implemented something here which is called an S3 trigger. So I can, whenever I upload a file, I can say that, hey, whenever I can put a rule, right? So whenever a file is uploaded here to this S3 bucket, something happens, right? Then I can designate what happens. So in this case, I have this trigger, this S3 trigger, right, for my bucket that will execute a lambda function. So that is one of the building blocks we saw earlier. And it is basically a very small and simple JavaScript file that would read that information that was just saved and save that, that information to a DynamoDB table. Then we'll move over to this new service that was also uh, there um, on our presentation, right? So, and here, well, DynamoDB uh, is a very fast data store. So it allows you to, well, first of all, it is a database and it's built for scale, and it scales for reads in a more seamless way and infinite way, right? So it scales horizontally and scales for reads, right? Um, so basically, we're relaying the data from the S3 to DynamoDB, and we're saving all the information here. So you can see that just came from the stream. It is now here. So you have the gas used, you have the gas limit, and you have percentage full. All I needed to do to create this table was to come here, click on tables. Then I have the create table screen and create table, and then just writing some very basic instruction here. There's uh, no trick at all. And on the lambda function, it is a JavaScript file that basically takes the S3 event and it reads the file. We're going to have only one block coming in at a time that will be represented in only one S3 file at a time. So I'm picking only the first um, the first record from the upload event. And then we are creating this kind of the row object and saving that to the DynamoDB. Now that we stored the data that's coming straight from QuickNode, and we're now putting in this highly scalable database for reads, what should we do with it, right? So we could do, so in this case, we are utilizing another service, another building block, and this is called the API gateway. This one is pretty interesting because it allows me to create a public endpoint and to deploy an entire API infrastructure in a very, very simple way, right? So I can just come here, APIs, and then create new API. I'll get a URL for it. I can decide upon authorization methods, API throttling, quotas, free, paid, the several different authorization methods. Then I can have, different flavors of it, REST API or just a regular plain HTTP one, right? And fast forward this one, again, I created just from the console. Is easy to create. There's no trick here as well. You can come and click on deploy API. You should choose, sorry, this one, this link. Create API, you select your, let's say your REST API, and then you put a name, QuickNode, block, metadata. And then just by doing this, it will create and deploy a URL with an endpoint for you to use. Then you can add methods to it. So you select a stage, and then you select a path on the URL. You can attach to it get, post, patch, and all the HTTP verbs. Fast forward a little bit, you have something more or less like this, and where you can add integrations, right? So there are some native integration capabilities within the API gateway, and you can basically pipe the API gateway uh, method and HTTP verb to a Lambda function, right? So whenever you access that URL with that specific URI segment, it would a Lambda function will process it. Or you can pipe it to an AWS service, right? You could do that. So there are so many options there you can do. In our case, I created this Lambda function, which is largely boilerplate code, right? We have several examples in our documentation, um, and it uses basically the DynamoDB client to, guess what, read these things here, right? So I put the tabs in order in a sequence, right? So then we can all follow along on what's happening here. So we have first the QuickNode streams generating data, reading data directly from the Ethereum mainnet blockchain. It saves data in real time to this S3 bucket, which is an object storage service. After the file is uploaded, for each upload, it would call this uh, Lambda function that would just make sure that it is saving to the proper place that I want, the final destination, so to say, and which is this high-speed database for reads. And then after the data is here, I put an API gateway service that helps me with creating uh, a URL I can call. Then we're going to do that in the end. And that URL that I call is going to execute something, right? There are many options, but I chose to write my own Lambda function for greater control. And then you have things like the CloudWatch. You can basically see the logs of several of those services, right? And you have IAM, which is also an integral part of guaranteeing that only that the resources and services that they have only the enough permission to do what we want for the application. Um, so we don't want any sort of breach. Let's say if there's any malicious code that end up in a Lambda function, that it would, let's say, of a library that one of developer imports here, um, that this library cannot do anything that is not intended to do, right? So we have this also very mature service that can help you with determining what are the access in a very impressive granularity about what are the actions and the resources that each of the execution context can do. This is just some docs, right? Okay. Everything is already deployed. Here you have kind of an embedded VS Code, which is awesome. Um, we can test things. You can create um, example payloads, and then you can test them while you're developing it. Here's actually an example of a live call from the database, right? So it is returning um, the data I had saved on this DynamoDB database. Not only that, but it is possible to also at this point um, to make a curl request to this public API, right? So I can click here and then call it. Then I'll have, basically the data just saved there. All this I made in a few hours without having to um, deploy a EKS pod, right? For example, without deploying any Ethereum node, which is it could be um, um, time consuming, right? So that is to me very impressive, the amount of things you can do. And certainly back to the create stream screen and tab here, uh, there are so many options to use. You can test your stream starting from the tail, from the tip of the chain, or starting from a specific block, stopping at a specific block. So this is actually a lifesaver for folks that are working with data on a daily basis. All right, so do we have, oh man, that was on time. 3:45. Um, do we have any
Yeah.
questions?
I mean, I'm just thinking that you have done a really good job at explaining because we don't see any questions and there are so many people watching. We have right now around 79 live viewers. So that's a big number.
Well, that's awesome then. So just to wrap it up then, so it is impressive the amount of things that you can do with a stream of blockchain data. There are so many options here you can choose and pick from QuickNode streams. I know that there are other interesting features here as well, but to me, streams was like, first time I saw it, I was like, oh man, this is really good. And whenever you pour that many data into, let's say, a very rich ecosystem of services, you can do a lot of things, right? So this is just a very, very tiny example of, hello, uh, very tiny example of the things you can do with a high-speed database, Lambda function, and the same services that Fortune 500 companies use, right? So that is at your fingertips. Lambda functions, they have a free tier, for example, right? So with that, we're approaching the end. So thank you very much. We are on Telegram as well, Everton_Fraga. And here are our email addresses and X and GitHub handles. All right. Thank you. Any final words, Varsha?
No, I think that sums it up.
All right. It was a pleasure and talk soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Everton and Varsha. So, for everyone who is watching this stream on YouTube, after the live has ended, you can always ask questions around the stream. Whatever question you get arise during the entire stream, you can connect with Everton at the given email and Varsha at the given email. And you can also, if Everton doesn't mind, you can also DM him and bother him on Twitter, but just for very important questions.
Very good.
All right. Thank you so much, Everton and Varsha, for doing this and teaching us about these powerful tools. But at the same time, you made it look so easy. And I think it's also the tools, they are easy to use.
Yeah. Especially if you put your requests on Gen AI tools, they can really explain, hey, how can I do things at a very granular level? So today things are even getting easier, right? So I think that I really believe in this merger of technologies that can accelerate us as engineers.
For sure. 100%. Do you have anything to say to hackers on a closing note?
Oh yeah, so please build on, build great stuff. We'll be here watching and rooting for all of you to come up with something amazing.
Yeah, I'll just echo the same thing, and I'm super excited to see what all comes out of this.
All right. So I think that concludes this workshop. And yeah, see you on another workshop. We have daily workshops scheduled for this hackathon. And I'll see you in the next one.
Very good. Bye bye. Thank you.
Thanks.